Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Sunday, October 30th, 2022. Welcome. This is a Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Uh, Happy Halloween. Anyway, listen, so let's get started. Let's talk about something. I want to talk about how important it is to have precious metals. You cannot. Honest to gosh, you guys cannot believe it. What they've done to this system since 1971 till now. And the fiat, it's hard to get your head around all this. Fiat is actually going to become, not immediately, this is not going to be something that's going to happen in one day, but it's going to be something that's going to happen over a period of time. And how long it's going to take, toward the end, it's going to go faster and faster. And this is what the Fed's fighting against right now, is this exponential effect that's occurring with the fiat losing value. That's what inflation's all about. And so I found an article on here I wanted to talk about a little bit this Sunday. And I took a couple days off, guys. You need a break every once in a while. Like I put out a show, but Monday morning I'm going to be back in there anyway, I like to when I come back in after a little break, I like to do a little bit of a change in my cameras and a little bit of a change in the show, and so you see a little bit of difference in the show this morning. But anyway, let's get in there and talk about the nitty gritty. Why it's so important, guys, that you have some PMs. You know what I mean by PMs. Because if the currency is on its way to zero, how are you going to have insurance against that if everything you have is in fiat currencies? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. We're going to take a look at this article. So let's get the chart started right here. Now, this is the situation that we're facing right now. $2 quadrillion in debt has been created since 1971 till now, if you can believe that. We're not talking trillion. I didn't say trillion. I said quadrillion. That's 2,000 trillion dollars in derivatives and all these money market products and all of this. What we've now come to term fugazi. It's just digits that they can create in any amount. And this is why the Fed, even though they're doing all this quantitative tightening stuff, they're having a hard time making the markets turn downwards. Basically, they're trying to use talk and fear to move the markets downwards and raising interest rates. And we can see the momentum that this whole thing had. So it says here, a Lehman squared moment is approaching, with Swiss banks and the United Kingdom pension funds under severe pressure. But let's look at a different circus here. And they're talking about it as a circus because it's so bizarre. It says a global traveling circus is now reaching ever more nations, just as expected. This is right on cue at the end of the most extraordinary financial bubble era in history. And see, this bubble's so big now they can't let it pop because it would take the whole system down completely. So they have to keep expanding it. It says it's obvious. Debt creation, money printing, resulting currency debasement, which creates the invisible fall of yet another monetary system. It says this has been the norm throughout history. It's happened before. One of the most notable, is the example of the Roman Empire. The decline and fall of the Roman Empire. You've heard about Nero fiddling while Rome burned. And this is what it really comes down to. This is what we really have to look at. Rome burning. Now, this isn't Rome, but we could actually quite literally see fire come into this at a certain point in time when the dollar becomes completely valueless. When people can't afford to feed their children, we could see cities on fire. And this is part of the other things that you might have to prepare for. Now, people that live out in the country is the same way with Rome. They left Rome and they had to go back to see during the fall of the Roman Empire. They used to divert their attention away by using things like the Colosseum, where they used to bring gladiators in to fight. And they used to. This was in the modern day, they're diverting your attention away with things like the cell phone, things like your uh, Netflix, and it goes on and on and on to divert your attention away from a collapsing system. It's this debt creation and money printing, currency debasement. They're debasing the currencies just like they did in the Roman Empire. During the debasement of the Roman Empire, they started with silver coins. They're solid silver through and through. And they started putting the silver plating on them. And they used to have vendors and stuff that would get a hold of these silver plated coins in Rome, and they'd scrape the silver off. And this is how they made their living. And then they'd sell the coin for the face value that they paid for it. But they keep the silver. It's a similar debasement going on today. I remember 1964, that was the last year that they were putting silver in our change, real silver. It was 90% our coins, silver. Those coins are not worth the face value anymore. They're worth much, much more than the face value. And this is very similar to the scraping of the silver off of the silver coins in Rome. It says, it's obvious, debt creation, money printing, resulting currency debasement, which creates the inevitable fall of yet another monetary system. This has been the norm throughout history. The more it changes, the more it stays the same. It is starting this time with the closing of the gold window in August of 1971. That was the beginning of the financial and political circus that they have now, which continues to add more risk and more lethal acts to keep the circus going. And it's like people say, they take you to war. That's one of the things they do. In order to cover it's again a diversion of your attention away from what's really going on that's in the financial system and how they've messed it up. It goes on here to talk about what's happening in the UK with this shuffling of prime ministers around. UK, just look at UK prime ministers. First there's David Cameron, it says, and then Theresa May, and then it talks about Boris Johnson, and then it talks about Liz Truss coming along, and then it talks about now they're switching them out every 2 days. Well, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It says, in a bankrupt global system, you reach a point when the value of the printed money dies, and whatever a leader promises can no longer be bought with fake money. It always goes to zero intrinsic value. But this is the part here that really gets me the most right here. This shows the expansion of debt right here. Unbelievable from 1971. It almost looks like everything was perfect in 1971. That little blue line down there. Didn't have a lot of debt in the system. And just look how it's exploded. Well, it didn't explode that much until the year 2000, but really took off by 2021. It's out of control, guys. And no matter what they do, it's going to continue to lose value. And in the end, it's going to lead to a system collapse. What does that look like for all of us on a personal level? And how should we prepare for that? Well, your dollar is going to be worth less and less until it really speeds up in the end, and it's losing it could be as bad as 20% daily. So your dollar's worth $1 when you go to bed, and you wake up in the morning and your dollar's only worth 80 cents. What are people going to do when something like that's happening? Well, they're going to spend those dollars as fast as they can spend them. And of course, that means that they lose value even quicker. I mean, if your dollar's losing 20% daily, I mean, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. I mean, it's lost almost 100% of its value in no time. You're not going to keep your money in the bank anymore. People are not keeping their money in the bank right now. But look, 2 quadrillion. Can we get our head around that kind of a number of the amount of money that they've created? These central banks. And look, it shows a little diagram of them here, just pumping the money out like crazy, and gold's going to become out of reach. We see the little gold there flying away with its little wings on it, 2 quadrillion is 2,000 trillion. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. And a million is 1,000 thousands. So, to get your head around what kind of money we're talking here with 2 quadrillion is, if you had $1,000 times 1,000, well, you finally got yourself to $1 million. Congratulations. But you got 1,000 that just to get to the first billion. 1,000 times you got to do that to get to the first billion. And then when you get to the first billion, then you got to do 1,000 times that again to get to a trillion. It's enough money to make a stack of money from here to the moon, But 2 quadrillion is 2,000 times that. It says, why do 99.5% of all investors in financial assets avoid the investment that continuously backs and supports every government and every central bank globally? They're talking about gold. Not just gold, it's also silver. These are the 2 primary precious metals. And right now we're in a position where silver is probably going to be worth almost as much as gold at a certain point in time because it's being drained out of the earth so fast. It says gold is the only money that has survived through history. Every other currency has without fail gone to zero and become extinct. And this is a point we really have to put out there. I'm going to highlight it in blue for you guys. And as a reason why I'm kind of drilling this into you guys today is because we're on the precipice right now. We're on the precipice of civil disorder, civil disobedience, massive protests that are going to spiral out of control into something called civil unrest. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that there could be fires just like in the Roman Empire when Rome burned. We could have rather large cities burning with this because the currency is what drives everything. And if the currency becomes debased or devalued or ceases to function, so does society as we know it. So here it shows that they're comparing the $2 quadrillion worth of liabilities that are all actually resting on this tiny little thing of gold. The global gold out there is worth roughly, I guess, $2 trillion. But when you compare 2 trillion to 2 quadrillion, it means that it's 1,000 times. So to cover all of these expansion of the monetary supply since 1971 till now, to cover that with gold would have to go up 1,000 times its value of what it is right now. This is the situation we're in. And the central banks, they do hold a lot of gold. But this system's going to cease to function properly. And there's no way around this. We're getting very close to all of this, guys. And this is why the central banks out there right now are going through a tightening. And it's not working. Nothing's going down. The markets are going up. And I'm sure they're scratching their heads and they're saying, we have to continue with this tightening, otherwise we're going to lose control over this thing. The dollar's going to lose value too quick. People are going to panic out of the dollar, and the system is going to collapse into a hyperinflation. So we're going to have a collapse in a hyperinflation. But if they tighten too tightly and too fast, the system's going to collapse in the opposite direction. Either way, we're heading toward it. You only got a number of months left. I know it's went on for a long time. Maybe it could go on for another year or 2 years or 3 years, but we're reaching the end of the line. This is the point I'm trying to make to you guys. And I'm not guaranteeing you guys. When I say 3 years, some of you guys say, oh, we got 3 years. Okay, fine, I'll wait and I'll do it later. No, we might not have 3 years. We might only have a couple months left before all of this actually starts to happen. So this is why you got to start to prepare now. Now's the time. And I know that they've suppressed the price of gold and silver in this game of manipulation that they've done by 4 large bullion banks over the years. They're still trying to do it. But we can already see a breaking free from this suppression with the if you go out and buy real silver, you're going to have to pay a premium. If you go out and buy gold, you're going to have to pay a premium. Why? Why a premium? Is because of what they're doing with suppressing the price of gold and silver. The spot price does not represent the true price any longer. And this is going to get worse, a lot worse. And now I've just heard it through the grapevine that dealers are getting so stressed trying to obtain inventory of silver that they're going to be willing soon to share the premium somewhat with people who are, and also they're not going to be like they were, like they have been. This is one of the things that discourage people from buying silver is oftentimes the bullion dealers want to offer you lower than the spot price, or they're not really crazy about taking it and stuff. This is going to end pretty soon. You're going to walk in there wanting to sell the stuff, and they're going to be wanting to grab it out of your hands. They're going to want it so bad because we're going into short supply, and that they're going to share some of the premium probably. I can't guarantee that, but I can see it happen. I can see it coming, so that everybody makes money, and of course the price is going to continue to go up, and the premiums are going to continue to go up an awful lot faster than they're not paying you any interest on your bank account, or very little. So it's something to think about if you haven't started, if you've never become part of this army of stackers that we're slowly, the world is becoming out there. People are starting to catch on now. For years I've been preaching this and people weren't really catching on. They're starting to catch on now. And we're going to see an army of stackers that can't obtain supply because the supply is going to be so limited. So what they're going to do is they're going to pay these premiums, and there's probably going to be, and it's very soon, people who don't even go through the coin shops or anything like that, or silver dealers or brokers, they are going to be trying to find it through other sources and paying a massive premium to have it. So listen, thank you guys for listening to my show. Stay tuned tomorrow morning. We're going to get in there and take a look at what's happening in the markets. We had a big update on the markets as the markets ended the week. What was it, 800 points or something like that? While the Fed is tightening. This should be telling you something. It should be speaking volumes. The fact that the market's going up like 800 points in one day while the Fed is actually raising interest rates and doing quantitative tightening should be a big red flag that something big is wrong in the system right now. We'll catch you guys Monday morning. You guys have it. Did I check and see if Monday's a holiday or not? Tuesday at the latest. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye bye.